Marques, my man, my guy. Why? If you don't know what I'm talking about, MKBHD, of course, one of the biggest creators on this platform, especially in the tech space, he is in the middle of a scandal because he drove nearly 100 miles per hour in a residential area. Now, luckily, the reason we know about this isn't because he crashed or someone got hurt or killed, but everyone still found out because he posted a video titled "How My Video Gear Is Changing." It's a sponsored video for DJI. They're getting their money's worth, I guess. Right, and the whole video was showing all the different ways that he was using one of their action cameras. And one of the ways was in his car with him showing this clip. Right, and on an initial watch, you might be like, okay, I mean, he was driving, it was loud. But what people noticed was that even though the driver's speedometer got blurred as he went faster, the passenger one didn't. And that one showed him going 96 miles per hour. And that was after he went past a sign warning that the speed limit was just 35. And that along with another sign that was warning to drive slow because there were kids in the area. And so with all that, you had people all over just fucking pissed. Not only because he did it, but also accusing him of trying to cover up his actions by blurring one of the speedometers and adding that what he did was incredibly reckless and dumb, saying driving reckless for a short clip in a video is always wrong. Don't drive 60 over the limit, not ever, especially for content. People saying they're unsubscribing, some going after him and DJI. And so this kind of ended up just getting thrown on top of people already angry at him because the whole video was already a sponsor segment. Now, a big thing with all of this is that if you watch the video now, the clip of him driving really fast, it's no longer there. With Marques also writing in a pinned comment, cut out the unnecessary driving clip that obviously added nothing to the video. I hear all of your feedback on sponsored videos too. With him then also putting out a longer apology on Twitter saying, last video I did something pretty stupid, absolutely inexcusable and dangerous. I've since cut it out of the video with YouTube's editor tool. I also understand that this looks like covering it up, but I think it's the right thing to do. I would never want to make it seem okay by leaving it in the video. I'm well aware of the Streisand effect, and I know everything on the internet lives forever, but I think that's the best decision right now. All I can do is apologize and promise never to do anything close to that stupid again. That's a terrible example to set, and I'm sorry for it. But with that, there were still a number of people not happy with it, saying things like editing out the crime does not make it disappear. Also writing awkward considering he already made the conscious decision to blur out the main speedometer in the edit. So with that saying, so he only realizes it's wrong after people called him out for it. And others saying MKBHD has spent years building a great reputation, seems intent on destroying it in 2024. But also, with that said, it's not just all backlash out there. You have some saying that even though what he did was wrong, he's getting way too much flack, arguing things like tons of creators film themselves doing stupid shit, but he's the only one routinely getting held accountable. Others saying things like this YouTuber who is a very positive black man got caught speeding in a residential area in his YouTube video going 60 above the speed limit, and his fans are acting like he committed SA. As well as people seem obsessed with any little mistake MKBHD makes. I need you to find that same energy for half of Logan Paul's entire career as a creator. As well as some saying things like there are lots of roads around the Northeast people do this on. Not 96 and a 25, but 50, 60 off. Everyone complains, but the police never enforce it. I get it. Awful choice to show it in the video, and 96 is too fast. But then adding the outrage about this is way too much for what this is, though. But, with all that said, that's the story. Everyone's different takes on it. And so I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then let's talk about Donald Trump, his cabinet, his administration appointments, and kind of just the general setup for him to come in on January 20th, because everything is getting moving now. Today, Trump met with Biden at the White House, and this is Donald Trump has started to name a number of people, including Elon Musk. Because yesterday, Donald Trump announced that he was creating, quote, the Department of Government Efficiency. Oh my God. The Department of Government Efficiency. And yes, that's right, Doge. Get it? Do ya? And to run this new Doge, Trump tapped both Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, with critics immediately joking nothing says efficiency like having two people do one job. To understand, this is a very exciting prospect for the people that voted for Donald Trump. Because in this statement, Trump said that Doge will dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. And this as they help the Trump administration, quote, drive out massive waste and fraud and, quote, make the US government accountable to we the people. So as of right now, we really don't have any information about how Doge will achieve those goals or how the effort will be funded and run. Also, right now, we really don't even know what kind of entity Doge will be. Because while it sounds like it is part of the government, right, it's the Department of Government Efficiency, it's actually not a department at all. Though we do know this is Musk's brainchild. In fact, it actually appears to have first came up during a live stream back in August where Musk suggested that Trump create a government efficiency commission to audit the federal government and appoint him to lead it. Then a couple of days later, Musk tweeted an image of himself at a podium labeled Department of Government Efficiency with the caption, I am willing to serve. And then a few weeks after that, Trump announced that if elected, he would form a government efficiency commission and tap Musk to lead it. Though, I will say very notably, Trump doesn't use the term commission in the statement, but he does say that Doge will, quote, provide advice and and guidance from outside of government, and that their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. Right? And so that language appears to indicate that he's talking about a one-time commission, not a permanent department. Right? And that would actually make more sense, right? It's way easier to create this kind of commission on a bunch of different levels. Right? Forming a whole new department, it would require authorization from Congress and likely necessitate the allocation of millions or even billions of dollars in the hiring of staff. Or I guess in other words, it would be creating a bureaucracy to cut bureaucracy. And then if Musk and Ramaswamy were to run a department, they would become federal employees, which then would mean they need to disclose various financial assets or entanglements and divest significant holdings, yada, yada. But commissions, those can be created unilaterally by the president through executive action, and they don't have the same requirements. And when it comes to external advisory bodies, one, the people in charge do not need to be federal employees, and two, commissions led by non-federal employees are governed by a totally different set of laws. And that's super significant because Musk does have a ton of potential conflicts of interest. Right? He has deep financial entanglements with the federal government because many of the companies that he owns in the auto and space industries, they've grown through government contracts and subsidies. Even just SpaceX alone, they've gotten more than $10 billion worth of federal contracts in the last decade. Also, those various businesses are regulated by multiple different federal agencies, and many of those companies, including SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, and X, they've been the subject of at least 20 different investigations or lawsuits by federal agencies. So basically, Musk would be given oversight of the agencies that police his companies. But with all that said, we're kind of in this waiting pattern, and it's unclear exactly how much power Doge will actually have. And again, in large part, that's because all of this is so new. Right? No one's really said or gone into the details about how this whole thing will fucking work. But I will say if it's similar to past commissions, like if that can be an indicator, the scope that Musk and Ramaswamy may have, it could be limited. Right? And that because federal spending is controlled by Congress and the White House, and any recommendations Doge makes for slashing regulations, cutting spending, and limiting bureaucracy will just be that, recommendations. Though I will say, notably, Republicans do have both chambers right now. But also, and I'm going to talk more about this later in the show, given what we saw with the Senate Majority Leader situation, there's a question of, will there be political will there? Though I would say that's not one-to-one because with the Senate Majority Leader, that was a secret vote. They won't get to do that if these recommendations become a bill and Trump puts the pressure on. And all of this is the scale of the stuff that Musk and Trump are talking about. It's pretty huge. Right? Among other things, Musk has said that he wants to cut the number of federal agencies from over 400 to no more than 99 and cut federal spending by $2 trillion, which notably is almost a third of the $6.75 trillion the federal government spent last year. But we're talking about a figure that is more than the budgets of the Department of Defense, Education, and Homeland Security combined, which is why you have a number of experts saying that it is literally mathematically impossible, especially because Republicans aren't going to touch anything like the defense budget. But we'll see. My mindset for the next however many years is we'll see. Why not? Anything's possible, for better or worse. And actually, this is the perfect transition. On the note of anything is possible, let's talk about some of Trump's picks. Because we're seeing a mix of picks that for some, the Democrats are scratching their heads, and then others, MAGA world, scratching their heads. Probably the guy getting the most attention right now, though, is the defense secretary pick. Because the guy in question there is Pete Hegseth. On one hand, he's a decorated Army combat veteran and a Princeton graduate, but on the other hand, he has no Pentagon or government experience outside of his military service, and he's best known as a Fox News host. So his name's not actually coming out of nowhere. During Trump's first term, Hegseth's name was floated as a possible pick to run the Department of Veterans Affairs. So actually, notably there, some of Hegseth's biggest critics have actually been leaders of veterans groups. And that might have something to do with the fact that Hegseth is the former CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, a group advocating for outsourcing veterans healthcare that was funded by the Koch brothers, which is why you had people like Paul Rieckhoff, for example, founder of Independent Veterans of America, saying in a post on X, Hegseth is undoubtedly the least qualified nominee for SecDef in American history and the most overtly political. With him also saying, but this is also why others are going to be happy about the move, that Hegseth is a highly effective and ferocious media, culture, and political warrior for MAGA, saying he's beyond loyal to and trusted by Trump. And as far as what Hegseth might do in this position, we got a possible preview thanks to an interview that was published last week where he said,
well, first of all, you got to fire you got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you got to fire this. Obviously, you're going to bring in a new Secretary of Defense, but any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke shit, it's got to go.
And then with that, he specifically questioned the role of women in combat. But then separately, we saw Trump naming South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to be his Secretary of Homeland Security. With a number of people confused why this position, though, it was expected that she would be a part of this. Because in case you forgot, she was actually on the short list to possibly be a VP, but then things got weird after she published a book where she, unprompted, told a story about shooting and killing her family's dog. Regarding Noem in this specific role, you had the Washington Post writing, Noem brings less relevant experience to the cabinet job than recent Homeland Security secretaries, including those who served during Trump's first term. But with that, I will say that Trump has named a couple of people that actually do seem to have the qualifications for the specific jobs that he wants to appoint them to. Folks like John Ratcliffe, for example, a former Texas congressman who served as the director of national intelligence during Trump's first term, as well as Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, who Trump selected to serve as his national security advisor. Right, and in addition to serving in the military, he held multiple roles at the Pentagon before being elected to Congress, where he also sat on key foreign policy committees. And then, after days of reports, Trump officially announced today that he's picked Senator Marco Rubio to be his Secretary of State. Right, and that would make him Trump's top foreign affairs advisor. And on that note, Rubio has said that Ukraine should try to negotiate a deal with Russia, even if it means giving up invaded territory, and 2, lobbied against a ceasefire in Gaza. Very fantastic news for all the Jill Stein voters out there. He is very pro-Israel. But then finally, I was about to say that's where we are. We'll keep our eyes open because appointments are coming in fast and furious. But then we just got the news that Donald Trump has nominated Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General, which I imagine is about to set social media on fire. And so we'll talk about that more soon. But I guess with all that said, as things are still developing, I'll pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts so far? But then, taking a quick break from the news, isn't it amazing that we live in a time where you can get whatever you need, whenever you need, right to your door? I mean, thanks to our sponsor, DoorDash, it's easier than ever to get anything you want, whether it's flowers, groceries, or fresh produce delivered straight to your door. But also, DoorDash isn't just about deliveries, right? It's about saving time and bringing people together. It's your door to better relationships, more time with loved ones, and the luxury of staying on the couch when you don't feel like moving. I mean, I've used DoorDash on game days when we've run out of ice or forgotten to pick up dips. I mean, DoorDash saved me. Or like I talked about last time when I realized it was our turn to bring the kids snacks for the game and it's 7 p.m. the night before. It is truly an all-in-one solution for your lifestyle needs. And the app allows you to customize, substitute, schedule, and track your order. So the next time you're running low on anything from groceries to snacks, you can have them delivered right to your door with DoorDash. Just remember, DoorDash is your door to more. So download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered and use code DeFranco2024 to get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. DoorDash, it's not just delivery, it's your door to more. But then InfoWars is up for grabs at an auction today, meaning that the fate of the company and Alex Jones, at least to some degree, is up in the air until we learn who takes it. Right, and this is the proceeds will go to the Sandy Hook families, because Jones owes them $1.5 billion in damages after they won defamation cases against him. Though with that, as places like NPR have explained, at best, the families expect to collect just a tiny slice of that amount. And this is, right now, we don't know who the company might go to as the bidders had to sign NDAs. But with that, Jones says that he expects to learn about the new owner today or tomorrow, though the public may not know that soon as well. Right, and this could go really one of two ways for him. Someone on his side could win the bid and he can keep yapping as scheduled in the normal place, or possibly, one of his critics or just some other group, they could take it and shut it down. Though I will say, I don't know what that would fully accomplish. Right, at the end of the day, InfoWars, it's Alex Jones. And Alex Jones could just go somewhere else and it'd be very populated based off of just, a tweet. And part of the reason I mentioned that is because, according to NPR, it may not just go to whoever forks over the most cash, because the US trustee has discretion to determine the highest or otherwise best offer. Now, as far as who is in the mix, again, we don't know exactly who placed bids, but Roger Stone has apparently shown some interest. NBC News has also reported that there have been murmurs about Elon Musk or even The Onion, but notably there, no party responded to the outlet's request for comment. And this also as NPR spoke to Jeff Rotkoff, who runs a progressive media company in Texas, because he was considering a bid until he realized that there were just too many heavy hitters in play. And apparently some of those heavy hitters did come from left-leaning figures. So he added, "We're rooting for anybody who wants to undo the harm that Alex Jones has done to our state, our country, and our planet." Though notably, 1, there are people with deep pockets on both sides of the aisle, and 2, no matter what really happens here, Jones is not going to be losing his voice. Because whether it be Alex Jones, any other figure, this is even true for me. As long as there are people out there that want to hear what you have to say or get the product that you're doling out, people will follow you. And that is especially true if you get kicked out or shut down, right? Or in other words, you can remove Alex Jones from InfoWars, but you cannot separate him from his audience. And that's actually something Jones has hit on himself. Though this also as no matter where he makes money, Sandy Hook families will still have the right to try to grab it. And that because the judge ruled that families can keep chasing him down until he's fully paid the $1.5 billion, so they have a claim on his future earnings. But then we gotta talk about this Senate drama. Because if you don't know, Mitch McConnell's on his way out. He's retiring from Senate Republican leadership after 18 years. Though, do not be surprised if you see his face, because he still plans to serve out his current term until it ends in 2027. And well, with this, we now know that South Dakota Senator John Thune has been elected to replace Mitch, which isn't completely surprising. Thune served as the #2 Republican in the Senate since 2019. COVID-19, and he's mostly handled things since McConnell's concussion last year, with outlets like Reuters reporting he's seen as, quote, an even-tempered institutionalist and seasoned legislator who has close relationships with many of his fellow Republicans. And over the course of this race, since McConnell announced his intention to retire back in February, Thune's main competition has been Texas Senator John Cornyn. And according to a Thune spokesperson, he beat out Cornyn by a 29-24 vote. Though notably, there was also a third candidate in the race at one point, with Senator Rick Scott from Florida, though he was eliminated in the first round of voting. In this, as it wasn't exactly smooth sailing for Thune, right? One of the biggest obstacles that he had to navigate in this race was the disdain from the MAGA camp. Because you see, back in 2020, Team Trump was doing everything they could to overturn the election in Thune. He rallied his colleagues to oppose a move by Trump allies to block the certification of Biden's victory. Right at the time, calling the effort inexcusable and saying it would go down like a shot dog. Which then prompted Trump to speak out against him and call for someone to challenge him in his re-election. And so reportedly, some MAGA allies have been trying to advise Trump to block Thune's appointment as Senate GOP leader, with many also loudly backing Rick Scott, including Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and Trump's former chief strategist, Stephen Bannon. Though with all that, Trump did not at least publicly endorse any of the three candidates. Instead, before someone was selected, he called on the new Republican Senate leader to give him enough leeway to bypass the normal system for the appointment of his cabinet nominees, to which notably, each candidate quickly said they would be open to. And this is Thune has publicly allied himself with Trump again recently, visiting Mar-a-Lago, meeting with him to discuss policy, and toning down the criticism when he's asked about Trump. But this also, as you have some saying that Thune's victory here, it could be a sign that the Senate could maintain some independence from Trump, while Republicans likely hold the trifecta of the presidency in both chambers of Congress. So how that's actually going to play out after January 20th, we'll have to wait and see. Especially because if you look at the Republicans in Congress right now, I mean, even today, there are varying levels of loyalty on display.
There's no question he's the leader of our party. So now he's got a mission statement, his mission, and his goals and objectives, whatever that is, we need to embrace it. All of it. Every single word. If Donald Trump says jump 3 feet high and scratch your head, we all jump 3 feet high and scratch our heads. That's it.
But then in what the fuck is going on in Haiti news, a lot of people are asking, what the fuck is going on in Haiti? Because right now the FAA has banned US airlines from flying to Haiti for 30 days. And that because one, on Monday, bullets hit a Spirit Airlines plane when it was about to land in the capital, injuring a flight attendant. And then two, on Tuesday, JetBlue and American Airlines revealed that post-flight inspection showed that their planes had been hit while leaving the airport. So yeah, the FAA has now banned US airlines from flying to Haiti for 30 days. With then also the capital's airport remaining closed until November 18th, meaning that any planes still coming have to be diverted to a second airport in the north of the country. All of which is why you have a UN spokesperson saying the flow of humanitarian aid and humanitarian personnel into the country will be limited as a result. And while the whole thing is alarming, this part is especially alarming because the gang violence has been plaguing Haiti for years. It's forced more than 700,000 people from their homes, worsening what was already a bad poverty and hunger situation. And of course, that is in addition to the thousands who have been killed as well. Right? And it's all connected. These plane shootings are just a small part of the latest flare-up in the fighting. Like just on Monday, there were reportedly at least 20 armed clashes and more roadblocks affecting humanitarian operations during the violence. And now the UN estimates that gangs control 85% of the capital. And as far as what's being done about it, you might remember this, we covered it. A UN-backed mission led by Kenyan police arrived back in June to try and bring order, but it struggled with a lack of funding and personnel. And to that point, the airport closure has now raised questions about the planned arrival next week of 600 additional officers. And then on top of all that, this is happening in the midst of political chaos. Because back in April, a transitional council was set up to organize elections and restore democracy to the country, with them then appointing an interim prime minister who they then fired this weekend, just 6 months later. They then quickly put a new guy into office, inaugurating him in a quiet ceremony on Monday, all while gangs were terrorizing the capital. And very notably there, many have questioned whether the presidential council had the legal authority to even replace the prime minister in the first place. Because the authority to fire a prime minister, that belongs to the parliament, but because there haven't been elections in years, Haiti currently doesn't have one. And in general, besides this, the council's been plagued with infighting and faced all sorts of corruption allegations, with some there blaming it for creating political instability, in turn allowing gangs to make violent power grabs like the one we've seen this week. And so while you have some hoping that this new PM can somehow make good on his promise to restore security and hold elections, we'll have to wait to see what happens. But from the outside looking in, it does not look good. But then, taking a quick break from the news, the holidays are around the corner and y'all, they'll be here quicker than you think. But I've also got insider info because for the holidays, today's sponsor, ButcherBox, they've launched a great Thanksgiving offer. And get this, you can choose from a free 10 to 14 pound whole turkey, a spiral ham, or a 5-pound boneless turkey breast in your first box. And for those that don't know, ButcherBox is a service curating top-notch cuts of meat and seafood from trusted sources, including 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, and crate-free pork. And I really like having ButcherBox, especially during the holidays, because in all reality, right, schedules are even more hectic, and having meat in the freezer, it makes it so much easier to have food on hand. So we're not running around chaotic grocery stores or going through drive-thrus. And the value is incredible. When comparing prices to what you'd pay for similar cuts at the store, ButcherBox is very competitive, especially for the quality that you get. Plus, it's delivered right to your door with free shipping. I mean, what's not to love? So new users looking to elevate your meals, click the link in the description and use code DeFrancoShow for $100 off. Yes, really, that's $100 off when using code DeFrancoShow at checkout. That's $20 off your first 5 boxes. But then we should talk about Jack Teixeira, the man behind what's been described as one of the most damaging national security leaks in history, has now been sentenced to 15 years in prison. Right, and if you're unfamiliar, Jack Teixeira is the now 22-year-old Air National Guardsman who previously served as an IT specialist at an airbase on Cape Cod. And during that time, he obtained and leaked highly classified military documents on Discord, right, with this material reportedly including details about supplying equipment to Ukraine, how it would be transported and used, as well as information about Russian and Ukrainian troop movements. And so with that, prosecutors claim that the leaks caused immediate and long-term damage, possibly compromising U.S. intelligence gathering methods. With people like Jared Dolan, deputy chief of the U.S. Attorney's Office's National Security Unit, describing the damage as historic and saying his conduct and his offenses are unparalleled in breadth, in depth, and in quality of the information. Now, Teixeira, for his part, has apologized, saying, "I understand all the responsibility and consequences falls on my shoulders alone, and I accept whatever that may bring." And while he initially pled not guilty, he changed course back in March, then pleading guilty to 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information under the Espionage Act. Although to be clear there, prosecutors said that they found no evidence that he was engaged in espionage, but he wasn't actually spying for another country. Instead, they said that he posted the information to feed his own ego and impress his anonymous online friends. And so with him admitting guilt, it was really just a question of, how long would he serve? The prosecution originally requested 17 years, the defense argued 11, with him specifically claiming there that an expert diagnosed Teixeira with a type of autism, saying that it was a condition that caused him to make poor decisions. They also said he only shared sensitive details with his online friends because he didn't have a similar community at work. But there, we saw the judge then say that the airman's inability to make friends, quote, doesn't minimize the offense of taking this information and putting it on the web. And while today, understandably, most people are talking about this because of the sentencing, and it's like, okay, we've been waiting to see what would happen, it should also be mentioned even at the end that this whole thing has raised questions about how easily a relatively low-level service member was able to get his hands on so much information in the first place. Though with that, the Defense Department has said that it has taken steps to prevent a similar breach in the future. And so I guess, for now, we'll just have to wait around and see if that's true, and if so, for how long. But then we gotta talk about this horrifying explosion that happened at this manufacturing plant in Kentucky. Because yesterday there was an explosion at the Givaudan Sense Color plant in the Clifton neighborhood in Louisville. There were reportedly nearly a dozen people injured. The company also confirmed overnight that 2 of their workers had died. The explosion also caused part of the plant to collapse, and it blew out the windows of a bunch of nearby homes and businesses, with people also living within a 2-block radius needing to be evacuated, and there was a shelter-in-place order for those within a mile of the plant for about an hour. And with all this, not only was there an explosion, you had the city's emergency services calling this a hazardous materials incident, because the place in question produces colorings for foods and drinks, meaning they work with chemicals. But there you had the local fire chief saying that they began monitoring the air quality immediately after the explosion, and adding that, quote, nothing at this point has ever shown any type of chemical problems in the air in this entire region. And while as of right now, we do not know the cause of this particular explosion, what we do know is that there's actually been an explosion at this plant in the past, with people noting back in April of 2003, an explosion at the exact same plant caused, quote, a massive release of aqua ammonia and killed 1 worker, with it also forcing 1,500 people to shelter in place and 26 people to evacuate, with back then investigators finding that a failed feed tank used in the production of food-grade caramel coloring was the cause. Though notably, they also found a string of other flaws in the plant, which was owned by a different company at the time, with those including a lack of hazard analysis systems and a lack of operating procedures or training programs to make sure the operators knew the risks. And then fast forward to last year, while there wasn't an explosion again, Givaudan did receive 2 notices of violation from the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District. One for failing to submit their reports on time and for failing to monitor and record equipment ranges, and another for failing to submit notices of excess emissions. And so given the past, but especially because of this most recent explosion, it's definitely sparked some concern in Louisville regarding Givaudan, with among other things, one resident who lives just a few doors down from the plant questioning why the factory is even allowed to operate so close to homes, saying there shouldn't be a factory in a residential neighborhood if you ask me at all, there needs to be a long look into the company, with also an environmental justice and public health advocate adding, this explosion again highlights the need for communities to have a right to know when it comes to the chemicals in their communities. communities. It also highlights the fact that all jobs must be safe for workers in the surrounding communities. But with all that, for now, the Louisville Fire Department is reportedly investigating the explosion along with state and federal partners, and a team from ATF is helping figure out what caused it. So hopefully we'll have more information soon, but for now, that's where we are. But then finally, today, I want to give out a congratulations and then just talk with you. So first, congratulations to Nicole, the latest SeatGeek prize winner who just won $500 in our weekly SeatGeek giveaway towards her choice of SeatGeek tickets. Nicole's planning to hit up a Houston Texans game. I hope you love it. They actually have a fun team this year. Then also, for everyone else, SeatGeek and the Daily Dip are still giving away up to $1,000 in tickets, and you should definitely enter today if you haven't already. It's simple. You just add code PDS to your SeatGeek app profile for a chance at the weekly $500 prize, no purchase necessary. And $1,000 prizes are available to Daily Dip subscribers who add code PDS newsletter, doubling entries and winning. So yeah, do it. It's a win-win. Then finally, today, I just wanted to talk, say hi. I hope you're well, or I guess as well as you can be. I know a number of people are going through their stages of grief. Luckily, I've been dead inside, so I'm immune to all that. That's only partially true. I'm kind of at the, why not? Let's see what happens stage of my mind, because, you can only control what you can control in life. Which on that note, something that I've been doing with my time has been workshopping a morning show and live stream, and it's been really fun. No, it broke again. It worked! Oh my God, I'm so fucking stupid. Like, I feel like I haven't really interacted with this community at the level that I'm getting to do so in this specific avenue. And if you haven't been there, we've been testing different things. Like, part of it's been like showing you some of the behind the scenes of the research and organization for the Philip DeFranco show. Some of it's been covering stories we haven't included on the show or expanding in different ways and just doing everything. I don't know, there's something about live that's actually, I love that I didn't think I would. I need an app for the head. I hate, oh God, I'm full boomer, guys. Also today it turned into something different. It kind of turned into a podcast for a bit. We had Alex Perlman on. He was great to have on. It was a very interesting, funny conversation. And so yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, would love to have you. We're definitely doing one tomorrow at twitch.tv/DeFranco Live. But again, as we workshop this and we see how it does or does not fit in the day, the goal would be eventually to also bring it to YouTube. So like with all things that are not the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Philip DeFranco show, no promises. The only thing that will always happen is the PDS. But yeah, I'm really glad we're trying this as we wind down as much as we can wind down for the year. But that is where today's show ends. Thank you for watching, of course, with everything that we talked about. If anything stood out to you, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. For more news that you need to know that you might have missed, YouTube things that you'll really like this. But either way, it is a goodbye for now. I'll either see you tomorrow morning over at twitch.tv/DeFranco Live at 10 a.m. Eastern, or right back here at the same Philip DeFranco time in the same Philip DeFranco place for your daily Philip DeFranco show.